There comes a time when you start to feel like a stranger in your own life. The places that once felt like home start to feel unfamiliar. The people you used to laugh with now feel distant, almost unreachable. The goals you used to chase don't light you up anymore. Something has shifted, but you can't quite explain it. All you know is that the world you once loved, the one that used to make perfect sense, no longer fits. It's as if you've grown out of a skin that everyone else still seems comfortable wearing. And you find yourself wondering, what happened to me? When did I stop belonging to the life I built? It begins subtly, almost imperceptibly. You start noticing the small cracks in the surface of things. Conversations that used to flow now feel shallow. The laughter feels rehearsed. The excitement you once felt for things like success, validation, achievement, it fades, replaced by a quiet discomfort that you can't ignore. You keep trying to go back, to reattach yourself to what used to feel safe, but no matter how hard you try, something in you resists. You're not broken, you're evolving, and evolution never feels comfortable. You see, there's a kind of death that happens long before the body dies. It's the death of old identity, of false belonging, of illusions we once mistook for truth. When you begin to wake up, not in the spiritual cliché sense, but in the real, raw way, the things that once defined you start to fall away. You begin to see through them, and once you see through something, you can't unsee it. You can't unknow what you now know, you can't go back to sleep. And that's when the separation begins. The world you once loved starts to feel like a memory of someone else's life. You look around and realize you no longer care about the same things everyone is obsessed with. You stop craving the same validation, stop running the same race. You stop laughing at jokes that once made you laugh because now you can see the pain beneath them. You stop arguing with people who just want to defend their illusions. You stop performing. And people notice. They don't understand why you've changed. They tell you you're distant, detached, maybe even lost. But they don't realize that you're not lost. You're finding something they can't see yet. The truth is, you've outgrown the version of yourself that belonged here, the one who needed to prove, to fit, to please, the one who accepted the unspoken rules of this game without ever questioning them. That version of you was built to survive in the old world, a world of performance, of masks, of endless distraction. But once you see through that, belonging feels impossible because you can no longer pretend. And yet, this in-between place, where you don't fit in the old world but haven't yet found the new, can feel excruciating. You're too awake to go back, but too uncertain to move forward. You try to explain it to others, but your words fall flat. How do you tell someone that everything that used to feel real now feels like an illusion? How do you tell them that the life you once loved feels like a movie you can no longer act in? You can't. So you go quiet. You start withdrawing, not because you hate people, but because you can't fake connection anymore. You crave authenticity the way a starving person craves food, and the more falsehood you see, the hungrier you become for truth. That's why everything feels so strange now. You're not the same. The world hasn't changed. Your perception has. You see differently, feel differently, move differently. You've become sensitive to energy, to intention, to the subtle undercurrents of people's words and actions. You can sense when someone's pretending. You can feel when a space is heavy with unspoken pain. You can tell when a smile hides exhaustion. And this sensitivity, though it feels like a burden at first, is actually your awakening intelligence. It's your soul tuning itself to truth. But here's the paradox. The more awake you become, the harder it is to exist in an unconscious world. You can no longer tolerate small talk, gossip, competition, superficiality. You can no longer force yourself into spaces where everyone's pretending to be fine. You can no longer participate in conversations that revolve around money, status, or trends. You crave depth, stillness, presence, but you look around and realize that most people aren't looking for those things. They're looking for escape. And that's when the loneliness sets in. This loneliness is not the absence of people. It's the absence of resonance. You might be surrounded by friends, family, colleagues, yet feel completely unseen, because they still see the old you, the version that knew how to play the game. They don't recognize the person you've become, and sometimes you don't either. You're still learning who you are without the mask. You're still figuring out what matters when everything false has fallen away. But there's beauty hidden in this disorientation. It means you're shedding your old skin. It means you're making space for something truer to emerge. You no longer fit in the world you once loved, because that world was too small for who you're becoming. You were meant to outgrow it. You were meant to feel this discomfort. Growth always feels like destruction until you see what's being born in its place. Maybe right now you're questioning everything. Your work, your relationships, your beliefs, your place in the world. Maybe you feel like you've lost your spark. But what if you haven't lost it? What if it's just outgrowing its old container? The things that once defined you can no longer hold the magnitude of what you're becoming. You can't fit infinite awareness into finite structures. So they crack. They fall apart. And in the silence that follows, you discover what's real. You begin to find beauty in simplicity. You start to notice the way light moves through trees, the way silence feels in your chest, the way your body relaxes when you stop pretending. You start realizing that peace isn't found in adding more, it's found in letting go. Letting go of who you thought you needed to be, letting go of the expectations that kept you trapped, letting go of the world that once felt like home but now feels like a cage. The people who loved the old you will struggle with this. They'll try to pull you back, not out of malice, but out of fear. They miss the version of you that made sense to them, the one who shared their illusions. They'll say, "You've changed," as if it's a bad thing. And they're right, you have changed. You've stopped living from fear. You've stopped outsourcing your worth. You've stopped mistaking approval for love. And once you've tasted freedom, there's no going back. You might lose people, you might lose opportunities, you might lose your old identity, but what you gain in return is worth everything. Your truth, your peace, your self-respect. You start attracting different kinds of people. Quieter, deeper, more real. People who don't need to fill silence with noise. People who don't need to compete or impress. People who understand that the greatest connection doesn't come from speaking, but from presence. And eventually you begin to realize that not fitting in is not a curse, it's a calling. The world you once loved was built on distraction. You're being called to build something new, something honest, something that feels alive. You are not here to fit in. You are here to awaken. You are here to embody what others have forgotten. You are here to remember what it means to be real in a world that rewards pretending. So yes, you no longer fit in. You no longer belong to the places that once felt familiar. But that's not a loss, and that's liberation. You're not being exiled. You're being initiated. Life is pulling you out of the old world so you can see it for what it is. Not as a place to find yourself, but as a mirror. That shows you what you are not. You will still walk among the sleeping, but you'll do so with open eyes. You'll still interact with the world, but no longer depend on it for meaning. You'll participate, but you won't get lost. You'll love, but without attachment. You'll give, but without losing yourself. You'll exist, but differently, rooted in truth instead of illusion. And slowly you'll begin to find others like you. People who've also felt the dissonance, the ache, the quiet separation. People who have walked away from the noise not because they gave up, but because they woke up. When you meet them, there's no need to explain. There's a silent understanding, a recognition that you've both crossed the same invisible threshold, and that recognition feels like home. One day you'll look back on this strange, painful in-between stage and realize it was sacred. It was the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. You'll see that not fitting in was never the problem. It was the proof that you were expanding, that your soul was remembering its own size, that the life you loved was just a chapter, not the whole story. So if you feel out of place right now, if you feel like you don't belong in your old world, don't fight it. Don't force yourself to shrink. Don't pretend to enjoy what no longer nourishes you. This discomfort is your soul asking for room to grow. Let it. Let the old fall away. Let yourself drift into the unknown, because the unknown is where truth lives. And if you ever start to doubt yourself, remember this. Butterflies don't fit in with caterpillars, not because they're better, but because they've transformed. You're in the middle of that transformation. And it's supposed to feel strange, it's supposed to feel lonely. But you're not alone. Every awakened soul before you has walked this same path, the path of leaving behind a world that no longer feels like home. So walk it with courage, walk it with faith, walk it knowing that the world you once loved was never meant to be your destination, only your beginning. And what comes next is not smaller or lonelier or emptier. What comes next is real. If these words found you at the right moment, if something inside you recognized yourself in them, leave a comment. Tell me what part of your old world you're outgrowing. Tell me what truth you're stepping into. And if you want to keep walking this path of awakening together, subscribe, like, share this with someone who's been feeling the same quiet disconnection. Not for numbers, not for noise, but as a reminder that not fitting in doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're finally on your way home.